Hey guys, welcome to the channel. First video on this channel, because you know how it goes. Film some videos and then wait 12 years to film more, and then lose all of your login info for Google and YouTube. And so try to get this going on the new channel. Main thing I wanted to do with this video was showcase some of the reasons and highlight some of the features and sounds that I thought weren't being presented as much on YouTube for the PRS HDRX 20, which is the 20 watt PRS's 20 watt version of the Hendrix amp that they cloned and released, or their version of it, or I don't know all the details there. There's a lot of great videos on it, and but what I noticed was, of course, when you've got an artist's name attached to a product, then it's 700 videos of people just playing Hendrix riffs and trying to get the Hendrix clean sound out of the amp, and and then it would be like, okay, here's Little Wing, and then here's like fuzz face type thing, and I just feel it's not really representing the versatility of the amp. It's always a shame to me when you see people demoing amps and they're only like demoing it in what they think that brand is, or that product is supposed to, like, in their head is supposed to do. It's like when you see Mesa videos and guys are like taking the California Tweed, and like it's not a metal amp, but it says Mesa on it, so guys want it to do metal. The same thing with all the other amps in the Mesa line, right? They want this amp to be, it's all compared to the dual rectifier, right? And how, like, can you tune down an 8 string, and that's kind of like, it's disappointing because you're there's a whole demographic of people who are missing out on the features of that amp, and that product might be the exact thing that they're looking for, but because all the demos are improperly showcasing what the product can do or does well, might steer people away from it. So I just kind of wanted to make this video and explain what drew me to it and why I decided to buy it. Just really quick, I'm just doing this on my cell phone. I don't have, I mean, I do have a mic on the amp. I was playing with recording some stuff, but there's something going on with my interface, so I'm not going to do like a recorded guitar track. It's just going to be through the iPhone or through my Android. And then at a later time, if there's enough interest, or you guys want to hear something different from it, or maybe hear cleaner audio, I can maybe put more time into doing that. But as you could tell, I'm not I don't have like a filming studio with lighting. I have an overhead light. I'm in my basement, which was from the original Evil Dead, I think, and that's pretty much it. And then my phone, and the amp is right here to my left side. I've got my board plugged in. I'm not going to play with like a lot of modulation or delay or anything. I just kind of want to give everyone kind of the sense of why I really think this amp is good for more than what a lot of people are expecting to buy it for. So I went into the store and had no intention of buying the amp. I wanted to try it. They had a number of amps at the store that I wanted to try, and I've tried a lot of them in the small size. That's kind of what I was looking for, a smaller size amp to for gigging. I don't play I mean, I play at home. I think every guitar player plays at home. But I wasn't looking for like a bedroom amp. I wanted a small head that I could pair with a number of different cabs that I might have, and be able to use that live. Um, and what I had been noticing with this, obviously, I was coming from using a much larger rig. Okay, so going from a 5152 into a 412 Marshall cab, and I played. That was my rig for 10 plus years, to not really needing or wanting that size or that volume. So as we all do, we kind of go down a rabbit hole of wanting to pare things down a little bit, and thus began the search of what will give me what I want when that in a smaller package, when I'm used to that much bigger, that bigger sound, that the feeling of having the 412 cab and 120 watt amp. And the real truth is that if you're looking for something like in a small package, there's nothing that's going to replicate that if you're when you're playing in a live setting with a band. Okay, it's just not going to fully happen. But if I can get somewhere in the ballpark where I think, okay, it's not exactly the same, but I like this, I like the feel of this. I know a lot of guys like to do like the modelers, and which is totally cool, and you're going through the PA if you're playing live, and you have like that really stripped down rig and even bringing an amp. For me, a huge part of playing and why I enjoy it, and what allows me to enjoy it more when I'm on a stage playing with the band, is the feel of the amp on the stage next to me, moving air. I just, part of that is why I enjoy playing live, amongst other reasons. But having that feedback just makes you feel good. Like not like actual feedback, but the response from the amp. And nothing replicates 412 cabs and 120 watt amps, and just cranking those. You can't do it, but you can get pretty close, or you can find an alternative that kind of makes you feel the same way, but it isn't the exact same thing. So I went from that much bigger rig, and I went all the way down to a combo, a 112 combo, which was a Supro Statesman. That's their 50 watt combo, and that's a great amp too. I might do a video on that as well. I feel like when those were out, they weren't getting all the love. Like, for some reason, all the attention was on like 20 watt amps, right? And then like if you came out with something with 50 watts, people's minds are like, oh my god, how am I, like the roof won't stay on my house. It's like, it's not that much of a difference for certain things, but it does make, I think it makes a big difference when you're playing live with a band. And then the rabbit hole of trying to like, okay, I didn't like I like the combo. The combo sounds great, but I wanted to get back to a head and a cab setup, and I was trying to find how, what would work for me there. And I was just, volume wise and power wise, disappointed anytime I had to play with the band. They all sound fantastic. If you're recording at home, they sound great, and they, you can get a lot of good stuff that way. But if I'm talking specifically about playing with a band, it just wasn't doing it. Loud enough, yes, but you're kind of like struggling to keep up. And the band that I'm playing in at that time, when I was using the lower watt amp, was I was the single guitar player. We had a vocalist, a bass player who used to be the second guitar player and had to jump over to bass for a little while, and a drummer. And our drummer hits pretty loud. He's got a lot of different kits. He's got like a pretty big setup. Sometimes, he's got like a Vista Light kit. Like he hits hard. He plays pretty loud. We're a pretty loud band, and you can hear it, but it just was like, might as well have been like a practice amp almost. Okay. And now we're back to a 2-guitar band, the bass player and 2 guitar players, and I wanted to, could have stuck with the combo, but I wanted to get a head and a cab thing going, and I tried out a bunch of different amps. I'm not going to list them all off, but they're all just like kind of doing the same as I gone through before, just struggling to be heard, struggling to be felt. Not that I'm trying to be like the out in front in the mix or anything, but you guys know how it is, and then I plugged that in, and the PRS HDRX 20, and that was it. I had to buy it on the spot. It was at the store, was going through the matching 112 cab, and I had a 112 cab at home. I have a 3 Monkeys, which it's going through right now, 3 Monkeys 112 cab that has a Celestion 12-inch greenback in it, which is a great cab. I have the matching 3 Monkeys sock monkey 18-watt right here. I want to probably do a video on that at some point too, because that's a great amp also. But when we're talking like all 20 watts aren't created equal, that absolutely stands true with this amp. And after I bought it on the spot based on how I felt about it when I played it. And then of course I get home and I'm like on all the forums and looking, and the amount of people who are, talking about how it's probably closer to like a 45-watt amp. As far as volume, power, and feel, and they're absolutely right. And then, of course, I had to try it at rehearsal the second I got it, and it did not disappoint. It not only kept up, it's a pretty glorious amp, and we're playing mostly like alternative rock covers. We're just like a 90s rock cover band, but we also play some 70s, some Zeppelin, and hard rock, and some more modern things as well. We but the bulk of it is like 90s alternative rock, and the variety of guitar tones that goes along with that. So I needed something that was going to be relatively versatile. I wanted a head and a cab rig, but at the same time, I'm always with that battle of trying to pare things down and make things easier to transport and travel with. And so I kind of was looking for my ideal small rig that could be versatile and can cover a lot of territory. It was loud enough, can be heard. And this is a perfect example of that. I'm just going to right now just fumble through. I'm barely going to don't pay attention to my plan. I'm in my freezing basement. The guitar is not going to stay in tune very well. But I'm just going to play through some sounds. They are sounds. They might not be great sounds all the time, but they're sounds. I'm brand new with the amp, so I'm still tweaking it, EQing it. The EQ that I have on there now is what I was using through the cab at the rehearsal space, which is gonna be significantly different through the 112, the Greenback. So I haven't really messed with that too much yet, but I'm in the general ballpark. I could be fine with this tone, and I have a pretty small pedal board. I'm not gonna move the camera and show you. I'll just go through the signal chain real quick. So I have a well, what's off the board that I plugged in just because I figured people would want to hear it is I just have a TS9 tube screamer that I've done so many mods and modded it back. I'm not sure exactly what version of it's at now. It has a true bypass switch on it, and then I don't remember if I modded it to 808s. I can't remember. It's been so long. But I will tell you this, that the amount of times that I've done different mods and then modded it, gone back to stock, it's always kind of the same thing. I'm not a huge tube screamer fan. I get people like it. I think it sucks, but you'll be able to hear it. It's useful for certain things, of course, but for me overall, it lacks something, or adds something that I don't like. And we all know about the mid bump and stuff like that. It's not my cup of tea, right? It's like you're either a tube screamer guy or a clown guy or a Timmy guy or something, right? I'm just not a tube screamer guy, but I have it on there as a point of reference. If you don't have that exact version, or you have a different modded version, or you've got an original, I'll tell you it's all pretty much going to sound. You can get them all kind of in the ballpark, especially when you're playing live. Okay, so it's going into that first. It's not on my board, but then going on the board, I'm just going into a Polytune, TC Electronics, and then into the Electro Harmonics Pitchfork. Then I go into I'm always in and out of different fuzz pedals. I've got a couple here that I'll probably demo with this amp at a different time. But this is a Beetronics Vezzpa, which is a little bit more of like a gated Velcro-y fuzz, but it also has the octave octave up on there, which I've always been a huge fan of. I used to have a Prescription Electronics experience, which I still have bad dreams about getting rid of that. I should have never got rid of it. But I kind of always like to have that octave fuzz option. I don't use it so much, but it's good to have it on there. Then I'm going into where the Tube Screamer used to be. I replaced it with a Exotic Effects BB preamp, the original one. I know there's a couple different versions. This is the black knob one, which I think is the original one. And then into a fantastic overdrive distortion pedal, which is the DCW, the Miss Marsha, which is there's the two sides. One is supposed to be like their take on like the JTM45, like, you know, AC/DC type thing, and then the other side is supposed to be like a hot rodded JCM800. That's where I get most of my high gain sounds. I have the Exotic BB preamp and the JTM45 side of that DCW. Kind of, I'm still with this amp messing with, you know, I like to have different gain options because to cover that wide range of different tones for the cover band, while still being pretty. I could have 6 drive pedals here, but then I need to have a big pedal board. This is a small board. It's relatively small. It's an on stage. I think it's called the GPB 3000 or something like that. They make two. They make a small one and then they make like a slightly bigger one. This is the slightly bigger one, but it's still pretty small. Again, maybe at a different time and I get more cameras out, you guys can see all this stuff a little bit better. Then from there, I'm going into a Phase 90. Then the Walrus Audio Monument V2, which has tape over the strobing LED because that thing will fucking blind you. And then into a Boss DD6 delay pedal. And then right into the amp. Okay. Amp settings, I'll go through that really quick. So I'm not going to get into all the details about how the amp works. There's plenty of videos on that, but you've got the two blendable channel volumes. Like if you on a old school Plexi, you've got the two. You have the treble, and the normal. I don't fucking remember what exactly they are, but I've got the treble volume up relatively high. It's on 8, not 8 o'clock, 8 on the dial. So it's, that's like 3 o'clock. It's pretty high. And then the bass volume is at around 6 on the dial, which is like 1 o'clock position. In between those, there's a bright switch. The bright switch doesn't really add anything when the treble volume, starts to get up to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, somewhere around there. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but it's in the off position right now. So if I was set for more of a clean tone and I had those channel volumes down a little bit and was turning the master up a little bit more, that bright switch makes a little bit more of a difference. And then the master volume right now is just below like 3, okay, which is just below. It's a hair above 9 o'clock, which is slightly lower than the volume I used it on during rehearsal, which is really important. I didn't go over 3 with the volume. I'm, you know, for like one song or something, I might have like just like, let's see where we can go with it, and pushed it up a little bit, but you know, at that point, it was too loud, um, and I think that, you know, that's the volume that worked well for me with the rest of the band, playing with a full band, 2 guitars, a bass player, and a pretty hard hitting drummer in a really shitty, old factory rehearsal space. It's all just like concrete and brick, and there's pillars in there, so the acoustics aren't great. And that it was a very full sound in there. It's huge. Let's see what's next. Treble, just under noon. Middle is at 11 o'clock. Bass is just under 11 o'clock. And then presence is at 11 o'clock. And again, those are the settings I had at the rehearsal space. If I really was going to spend time here, I'd have to tweak that quite a bit. But this is pretty much just the amp by itself. I don't like a super clean tone. I like a little grit, and then I'll use, you know, my volume knob, or the old 2-channel trick, which is neck volume roll down, and then onto the bridge to give it a little bit, give the gas a little bit, and then I add the overdrive pedals to give me more, depending on, you know, how much gain I need in the song. So this is just, again, one more time, just the amp by itself. Sounds great. It might not sound amazing on the phone, obviously, but and here it sounds awesome. Again, 112 cap. You're not going to get not in the same way as with a 412. Get the thump, you know, but it sounds fantastic. Okay, Tube Screamer. Gain is almost gain. The drive is almost all the way down. I think it is actually all the way down. Tone is in the middle. Volume is almost all the way up. It's not max, but it's pretty close. It's probably 5 o'clock right there, so it's almost all the way. Without. Okay, so it's pushing the amp. It's doing what a Tube Screamer is supposed to do. I always feel they're a little anemic to me. No matter what anybody tells me, you know, I've heard great tones with the Tube Screamer. Okay, but it just has never worked for me, or any of my rigs for that matter. You guys just. Some of you might have the magic rig that the Tube Screamer works with. It doesn't do it for me. So again, without anything, and then I'll turn on the BB, which is gain is about noon. Volume is just a little bit below that. Treble and bass are kind of at noon right now. Treble a little bit below noon. Without. So that replaced the Tube Screamer spot. I had kind of been auditioning a lot of different things in that spot, and I'm actually really liking the BB preamp. It's super versatile. You can do like a clean boost with it. You could be a low gain, and it gets pretty high gain. Definitely enough for most of the stuff that I would need to do. All right, so right side of the DCW, that's like the JTM45 side. Gain is at 1, volume is at probably about 11. Bass and treble almost at noon. Again, I haven't EQ'd this stuff for this cab or anything yet, so um, it's not as awesome as it could be, but to me is pretty good. Um, I actually, that is kind of what I would think I'm going to use as my core drive sound. It's really fat. It's got, and again, I still got a lot of play on all the knobs here, which is important for me. If things are too low, or they only sound good when they're too low or they're too maxed, it's just not going to be versatile enough. Something can sound great like that in a very specific setting, but if I'm playing through different cabs or at a different venue, or even at rehearsals, sometimes, from day to day, it sounds a little bit different. So I like to be able to make little micro adjustments. The left side of the DCW is the hot rodded like JCM800 sound, and again, a lot of play on the knobs here left, but I do have the gain up quite a bit, almost at 3 o'clock here. Just because that's what that side does a lot of the higher gain heavy lifting for me. So, and then of course I could stack onto that. I could do the JTM45 with the BB. Maybe I'll do that in a second. But here's the higher gain side of the DCW. So there's a lot of gain there. There's definitely plenty for anything I would need to play. Is it the 5152 through a 412? No. But it sounds fantastic. I don't miss the tone of the 5150 so much as I had missed the feel. And now with this going through the cab that I use at the rehearsal space and we'll use to gig, which maybe I'll talk about in a little bit, but I don't miss the feel of it now either, with the pairing that I have. Here's the JTM45 side of the DCW with the tube screamer in front of it. So again, the tube screamer sounds, I just don't like it. I think that I'd rather less gain with the DCW, and it just thins things out for me a little bit too much. And I get it, right? The tone knob is at noon. I could play with that, but I have for years, and I hate the tube screamer. The BBE into the BB preamp into the DCW, the JTM45 side. Sounds fantastic. So I'm gonna stop this video here. Again, this probably wasn't the best video. I did a lot of talking, but I really wanted to explain where I was coming from with the amp. If anybody has more questions on anything, you could, I'll do my best to answer. I'm not like I'm not a content creator, so I'm not great with all this stuff right now. But I just thought I'd showcase some different tones from the amp, maybe from someone who's using it for a different reason. I don't do a lot of home recording, not anymore anyway. I used to do a lot more of it, but in the last like 10 years, I've done almost none. Most of the gear that I buy is meant to be used live. So, and obviously a lot of lower wattage amps work great live if you're miking them, and but I've been on gigs where we didn't have that option, or regardless of miking it, I still just wasn't getting and then you're fully relying on the sound person. I just wanted to make sure that whatever gig I'm showing up to, regardless of what the PA is, I'm happy with the sound and the feel that I have of my rig, and I'm not just gonna kind of be like, all right, it'll be okay if I can mic it. That's just it didn't do it for me. I get that that's totally some people's thing, and that's super easy. That's like I wish I could do it, because the easier approach of just having like Iridium or something with some IR or another like modeler, or that has especially for a cover band, has a million different sounds in it. I never got along with those things, so I don't like it. I need an amp. I need an amp with a cab, with speakers. I need air moving. It's just it's important for me. It might not be important for you, but if you're the same type of person and you're struggling with lower wattage amps, especially in the 20 watt, I'll tell you as a comparison, because a lot of people are comparing it online with all the forums, like the Marshall Studio Classic and Studio Vintage 20 watt, the Plexi and the JCM800. Those, I tried those a couple times, a combo, the head and the cab, the head through another cab, and compared to this, they sounded like toys. Once you're getting them to any sort of usable volume, in a live situation, they're just so thin and anemic and squealy, and yeah, they've got more gain for sure. For sure, they've got more gain, but is it usable gain at a volume that will allow you to be felt with a full band, not be heard? You'll hear it. It will cut through for sure, but to me, not in a good way. It doesn't have a thick, and again, if you're playing it and you're with a lower volume band or at home and recording at lower volumes, for sure you can get it to sound great. But if you've got to get it to any sort of workable volume in a live situation, it did not sound great to me. To me, this blew it out of the water. Both of them. And again, I'm not talking about gain. If you need higher gain, the Studio Classic JCM, it's going to have more gain with in the amp. I've got that treble volume almost all the way up, and if I bring it up all the way, I will get quite a bit more gain. But for me, that's not a great bass sound for a single channel amp, which I like a little bit of grit. Nice and punchy, nice and loud, and that will allow me to add on layers with effects. I don't like a perfectly clean amp and then relying on my pedals to do all of the gain work. These pedals are taking an already broken up amp and just pushing it just a little bit more. You guys know how that stuff works. I don't need to go into any of that, but if you guys have any questions on it, I'm thinking of also making a video, a couple different ones, of recording it at rehearsal or maybe at a gig. That way you guys can hear it with a band. It's kind of weird. I know I read after I bought the amp, I brought it home, I was reading in forums, and I saw that someone said Mark Lettieri is using one with Snarky Puppy right now, I think, on tour, and he's loving it. It's just kind of weird because my other amp, the Statesman, the Supra Statesman, he had also, and I'm not a great player. That's not, usually my thing. So it's not like I'm following Mark Lettieri and like all his gear or anything. I'm like, I gotta have the Mark Lettieri rig. It's just weird how it kind of worked out that way. He also used that Supro and now uses this, and I've switched to this. But it's fantastic. Maybe next time I'll go over like how I'm setting it up, and the different ways I kind of wanted my rig to be versatile with all the gear that I have. Instead of just collecting endless gear, let me just get like the bare minimum that I can mix and match things and get a lot of different versatility. So at rehearsal, I'm running that through a Marshall 1965 A cab, which is they were released in the 80s for a short period of time. It's a slanted, very small slanted 410, and I almost was gonna not buy that cab because I just I couldn't believe that a 410 was gonna sound good at all. I was ignorant with that stuff. I've always used 12s as a guitar player. I mean, I've heard people with like Bassmans and stuff, and I just never got to spend enough time with that personally playing to think like, you know, 10s would sound great with my type of playing and my rig. And I feel like an idiot because once I got it to the rehearsal space and I plugged it, I was blown away. It sounds fantastic. And for a small cab, where I don't have to lug around that big 412. It's the closest thing with the head in the cab that I've gotten to so far, where I've got a small head and a small cab, and they come really close to replicating that bigger rig sound and feel. I also have the straight version of that cab with a 212. Which sounds fantastic as well, but there's just something about the 410 that's just a little bit better. I actually, when I run the rig in stereo, the PRS is going through the 410, and then I've got the Three Monkeys Sock Monkey going through the 212, and that is extremely special. But I'm not always going to be able to bring the stereo rig for live, you know, for playing in a cover band or something like that. Just wanted to keep it pretty simple. I'm even trying to strip down this pedal board a little bit eventually, and have a little bit less on there, but that's a project for another day. But again, if you guys have any questions you want to hear, I just wanted to kind of give a general insight again on why I bought it. Maybe it kind of aligns with what you're looking for. But if you have any other questions, you want to hear it in any other way, or you want it mic'd, I mean, I can even do it mic'd through this Greenback, mic'd through that 410, mic'd through the 212, mic'd through the Marshall 412. My other guitar player has an orange PPC 212. I can run it through that. That one has vintage 30s in it. It could be endless. They all sound really good. So I'm just telling you that right now. Doesn't really matter, but they sound great. But if you want to hear it, I'll work it out to do it. I don't do these. Again, this has been 12 years since I filmed the last one, but I'm gonna try to do more. I think like you just have to be patient with me. If you do request a video, it's gonna take a little bit. But yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Take care.